Today, the spotlight is on Ekiti State, as the people have demonstrated their civic responsibility by casting their ballot to elect their governor. After all said and done, the stakes are high for all 14 governorship candidates vying for the same elective position. But the people's mandate will determine who leads the state in the next 4 years. On election days like this, especially for an off-cycle election, there are usually concerns about the intrigues, challenges, and of course commendations on whether the process of the exercise was smooth. For the electoral umpire, they have a lot to contend with, especially with expectations from the electorate who expect a hitch-free exercise. Beyond the analyses of the whole process, the true test is on accountability, transparency, and integrity of the outcome. As the Ekiti people keep hope alive, awaiting the results, will these be another milestone in our democratic journey as a nation? Tonight, the voter and the ballot. Citizens' expectations. What matters most to Ekiti voters as they elect their next governor? Will it be the same old practice of one tenure per candidate, or will history change for the Ekiti people? Our guests, Mr. Chris Agiri, is an election observer, and Madam Asabe Ndahi of the Kuka Center will provide some salient answers. Thank you for joining us. This is Weekend File. I'm Ruth Aguwele. Let's begin with the latest developments from across the country. And starting right away from Ekiti, we have voters in Ado Ekiti turned out at various polling units to exercise their civic responsibility in the 2026 governorship election in the state. Olubukola Aduwo visited some polling units within the metropolis to assess voter turnout, accreditation, security presence, and compliance with electoral guidelines.
The governorship election in Ado Ekiti was generally peaceful, with voters turning out at various polling units to exercise their civic responsibility. Visits to some polling units within Ado Ekiti revealed early arrival of electoral materials and officials, while accreditation and voting commenced in line with the guidelines of the Independent National Electoral Commission. In most of the polling units visited, voter turnout was encouraging as the bimodal voter accreditation system machines deployed at the centers functioned effectively, contributing to a smooth electoral process. Security personnel maintained law and order throughout the exercise, while election observers monitored proceedings to ensure compliance with electoral regulations.
Some polling units that I visited even before 7, INEC staff were already there, preparing to kick off. And at exactly 8:30, voting commenced here, which is impressive.
A lot of people are orderly. There is, in many places we have been to, large voter turnout.
Some voters who spoke with NTA commended the peaceful conduct of the election, describing the process as transparent, orderly, and largely free.
Units around Olalu have visited this morning. There's no problem. Everything is going on fine. The presiding officers and the security agents, they are doing their work, and the voters, they are also complying. There's no problem.
The situation and the peaceful atmosphere that all of us are enjoying here.
Persons with disabilities, including visually impaired voters, were also able to participate in the election.
The process, for me as a visually impaired person, is very okay for me. INEC should just, in their subsequent election, they should please make the voting points accessible for we persons with disabilities.
With voting concluded, attention has now shifted to the collation of results at designated centers across the metropolis as electoral officers compile the outcome of the election. In Ado Ekiti, Olubukola Aduwo, NTA News.
All right, so let's get latest update. We join our correspondent Ayodeji Ogunshakin, who is at the Collation Center there in Ado-Ekiti. Ayo, you've been on ground all day, and right now I'm sure you've gathered, developments on what's happening at the moment. So please fill us in.
Yeah, thank you very much. Presently, the people of Ekiti State are eagerly waiting for the announcement of today's election by the Independent National Electoral Commission. And presently, at the Collation Center at the INEC office in Ado-Ekiti, the arrival of various returning officers from the various local governments are being awaited. Now, presently, election observers, journalists are currently on ground waiting for the electoral officials to be on ground to start rolling out the result of today. Peacefully, today's election was conducted across the state. So the people of Ekiti are eagerly waiting to know the outcome of what they've done.
Ayodeji, since you're there already, I'm sure you want to find out, or have you found out from observers and of course party stakeholders there, what are the expectations, and did you get any hints of any local government, any word that may delay this process?
Presently, we are still awaiting the arrival of some party representative, and they are representative. We are still awaiting their arrival. But what I can just confirm now is the presence of some observers, the journalists who are already on ground.
Ayodeji, thank you. We've been following developments since morning, so I'm sure we'll stay locked with the NTA. That's what I'm trying to say. So we give you all latest development happening from Ado-Ekiti live. All right, let's turn to other issues. The federal government, under the Renewed Hope Agricultural Input Support Program, has flagged off the Northwest Fertilizer Distribution in Katsina State. The initiative has been disbursed under the National Agricultural Development Fund. Musa Baba Aliyu will tell us more.
100,800 bags of fertilizers were released to support 25,000 smallholder farmers across 5 states of Katsina, Kano, Kebbi, Kaduna and Jigawa. Each of the beneficiary states received 20,160 bags of fertilizer sufficient for 5,040 smallholder farmers per state. The inputs were handed over to the respective state governors for onward distribution to registered farmers in collaboration with the All Farmers Association of Nigeria.
The objective is simple. We want to reduce the cost of production, improve access to quality fertilizer, increase yield per hectare, and help strengthen food supply in the market.
Minister of Agriculture and Food Security Abubakar Kyari said the intervention is a direct response to the need to boost crop productivity and strengthen food security in the region. Describing the Northwest as one of Nigeria's major agricultural heartlands, noting that the zone produces significant quantities of maize, millet, rice, sorghum, cowpea, onions and wheat.
The Northwest is one of Nigeria's great agricultural heartlands, fed by great rivers and worked by farmers whose skill is passed from one generation to the next.
Katsina State Governor Dikko Radda and other benefiting state governors commended President Bola Tinubu for the initiative and assured that the inputs will get to the target farmers.
The intervention comes at a critical period of the farming season and will undoubtedly improve yield, increase household incomes, and contribute significantly to national food security.
Similar exercises were launched in North Central, Southwest, and Southeast. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
The fight against substance abuse has gained fresh momentum as MTN Nigeria, in partnership with the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, organized an advocacy road walk in Lagos to raise awareness, particularly among youths, about the dangers of drug abuse. Diana Ajali reports.
Residents of Lagos witnessed a vibrant display of advocacy. as participants moved around major streets in a roadwork organized by MTN Foundation Anti-Substance Abuse Program, ASAP, in partnership with the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, engaging the public on the harmful effects of drug intake.
The very, very poor can also get access to very cheap drugs, and it's very easy to get high. And this is killing our youths. And for us at MTN Foundation, we believe that the youth are our future. So let's carry them from the very, very young age. Anti-substance abuse, to let them know that it is bad for their physique, it is bad for their mental health, and it is bad for the contributions they make to society in the future.
Officials of the NDLEA commended the partnership, noting that sustained public enlightenment remains a critical component in reducing drug demand.
A lot of things have been mixed together by our youth, which they are abusing, and it's affecting them, both their performance in academic, even at workplace too. MTN Foundation has been a very laudable collaborator, organizing programs like this on a yearly basis in every geopolitical zone.
The awareness roadshow, which kicked off at Alawo Basharu Park, culminated in a sensitization session at the University of Lagos, where students from various tertiary institutions, law enforcement officials, and members of the public were educated on the dangers and societal impact of drug abuse.
We're saying a very big thank you to MTN and also the NDLEA because they are championing such an important initiative.
Stakeholders believe that through sustained partnerships, education, and community involvement, the campaign against substance abuse can achieve lasting impact and help secure a brighter future for Nigerian youth. In Lagos, Diana Ajale, NTA News.
Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu expresses solidarity with refugees and displaced persons around the world who have been forced to flee their homes in search of safety, security and hope. Declaring her stand in a message marking World Refugee Day 2026, the First Lady describes the theme, Solidarity with Refugees, as a reminder of the shared humanity and collective responsibility to be our brother's keeper and ensure that displaced persons have access to the opportunities and resources they need to rebuild their lives. She reaffirms Nigeria's commitment to supporting vulnerable populations, especially women and children affected by displacement. A joint team of Gombe Geographic Information Systems and Gombe State Urban Planning and Development Authority has demolished structures which they say contravenes the Gombe State Master Plan. Emmanuel Akila reports that the property owners are compensated with alternative plots of land.
In the midst of the structural transformation going on in Gombe State is the challenge of land distortion, and Gombe Geographic Information Systems GOGIS is out here to correct the anomalies.
The team is at Government Development Plan GDP 16, where spaces allocated for roads are being developed as residential houses.
The owner of this building you are seeing behind us, we have warned him. All the notices has been served to him several times. We stopped him several times. We asked him not to build. We are going to give him an alternative plot, but this land is on the access road. Let him not build, but he refused.
An audit of the area shows that some of the lands were sold with allocations from the Ministry of Lands, while others are acquired through land speculators. In either of the cases, the government is giving owners of the illegal plots alternative allocations.
I was issued with a new allocation in a better place that is even more than the previous my allocation.
Our layout will be restored to its initial design.
Similar exercises in the past 6 years give rise to Shehu Usman Abubakar District and Shungo Gardens layout with development in tandem with the State Master Plan. In Gombe, Emmanuel Akila, NTA News.
President Bola Tinubu felicitates with Pastor Osage Izeyamu and his wife, Professor Idia Izeyamu, as they mark their birthday on Sunday. In a statement, the president describes the couple as a distinguished Nigerians whose lives exemplify service, leadership, and commitment to national development. He applauds Pastor Izeyamu's contributions to Nigeria's democratic growth and his wife for her commitment to excellence in the medical profession and the development of healthcare services in the country. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has expressed sorrow over the passing of Audu Sule Katagum, Wazirin Katagum, and former Deputy Governor of Bauchi State. President Tinubu described the deceased as a dedicated public servant, accomplished architect, and loyal son of Bauchi State. Meanwhile, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu sends condolences to Professor Abdullahi Saleh Pakistan, former chairman of the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, over the death of his wife. Hajia Zainab Abdullahi Saleh Pakistan died after a protracted illness. All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back, we will talk in the voter and, of course, the ballot, citizens' expectation, particularly Ekiti State. So stay tuned. Thank you for staying tuned. The conduct of the Ekiti State governorship election has once again placed the spotlight on the readiness of electoral and security institutions responsible for delivering a credible democratic process. From the distribution of election materials to the deployment of personnel and security operatives, stakeholders have been closely monitoring the level of preparedness and its impact on integrity of the poll. Olukemi Sani reports. Okay, we'll bring the report in the course of our conversation, but let's take another one, still from Ekiti State. The Ekiti State INEC resident electoral commissioner Bumi Omoseyidemi has expressed satisfaction with the conduct of the election. He stated this while reacting to initial field reports during the voting hours.
Polling units open on time, as we promised. Most of the polling units from our monitoring room, we have 97% of the polling units open, set up by 8, and election started at 8:30. So we have been, and everything is okay, except some places where we have issue with beavers, and immediately they call our attention to it. We have a set of people we call rack tech. So they go all over. They are the RA technicians. So they go all over and fix the problem. People came out to vote, and there was no violence. Everything went on peacefully, and it was inclusive. The people that have a visual disability, they are given braille. And we have done the mapping during the voters registration to know which local government, which area we have each of these people with physical challenges. So we're able to map them, and we're able to provide the necessary equipment for them at those particular locations.
Okay, there you have it. So let's welcome our guests. Mr. Chris Aguirre, he's an election observer. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Aguirre.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good evening, Nigerians.
Good evening. Always a pleasure to have you talk election matters on the NTA. You've been following development, and I recall you were part of the last Ekiti off-cycle election 4 years ago. If you want to juxtapose the process that happened in the past with what has played out today, we're at the collation point, even though it hasn't started, what would be your opening remarks?
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Ekiti governorship election. I was there 8 years ago. I was there 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, things were a bit different. President Buhari was the sitting president then. And then Fayose and they were so that was when Fayemi was exiting, and PDP had a strong candidate. And so, but Ekiti came and passed peacefully 4 years ago, just as it's happening now. You see, we may forget so fast that this upload of from the result form from the polling unit, uploading it to IREF, was tried in Ekiti 4 years ago, and it made the election seamless. Political parties from their, watch room, situation room, you see as the result is coming, you know that you are failing in this area, you know you're winning in this area. And he made the election, we concluded very fast. At a point, by 11 p.m., about 70% of results from different local governments were already at Ado-Ekiti. And so, like as is happening now, the report from the field observers, Flower Foundation, I deployed observers there, and from the situation on ground, the election is going on peacefully. The process is still on. When the election comes and goes peacefully, for us as observers, that's the most important thing. And nobody was killed. There was no, yes, the issue of the police station and all that. Right. The conduct of the policemen, from what reports I got, are professional. And then kudos to the new IGP. This is the first election he's conducting. And so it is a collective thing, all hands on deck. INEC so far, yes, I always use this phrase. Every election is a misgrill of some sort. It's, you know, it's like an elephant seen by blind people. Some who are the tail, some on the legs, some on the tusk, and describing it in different ways. So far, so good. I pray that Ekiti governorship election is concluded in this way and manner. Of course, there will be a loser, there will be a winner. And whoever that loses, they have an alternative. Can go to court if it's necessary, but we are discouraging that. So, INEC, yes, kudos to them, kudos to the INEC chairman, kudos to the IGP of police, kudos to the Ekiti people on ground. I tell you, Ekiti people turns up in the election 4 years ago.
Okay.
You know, you see mostly the young people turning up, you know, happily to cast their votes.
Okay, yes. Mr. Agiri, from what I gather, we've made significant progress, talking about the electoral process, going by what has played out in Ekiti today. But I'll get back to you. We have another guest who will be speaking to us, or my colleague there in Ado-Ekiti, Ayodeji Ogunshaki. Please take it over, just very briefly from your end.
Thank you very much. I'm having with me Asabe Ndai of Kuka Center. She has moved around the state as far as today's elections is concerned, and she has almost seen it all up to this moment. So what is your general assessment about today's governorship election?
Okay, thank you for having me here. So general assessment of the Ekiti elections, it has been relatively peaceful. There hasn't been cases of violence or serious security concerns. However, there are a few issues that stand out in the state generally, and I'd like to say that at the Kuka Center we deployed about 25 observers, which started observing the pre-election process from the month of March. So we didn't just start monitoring election on election day, and we've been doing this over this period of 3 months. And so there have been a lot of predictive analysis, and the hotspots have remained the same during the pre-election analysis and even here on election day today. And the hotspots include Ado-Ekiti, Moba, Ikole, Ileje-Meje, and Irepodun, Ifelodun. And some of the things that we have seen today include a lot of cases of vote buying. As of the last count we had at the Election Security Information Hub, which is at the Kuka Center where we gather the data, we have about 64 recorded cases. And what is interesting is the way the sophistication that has been deployed by political actors in this vote buying. Unlike other off-cycle elections where you see bags of rice and jars of oil, packs of other food items, what has happened here today is very sophisticated, because you just see people gathering in corners, having whispers, you know, speaking in hushed tones, being ushered out of the election premises. Sometimes they get a marker on their hand, separate from the one where they voted for, that was used for voting, on a separate finger. Some people were given wristbands. Other times you're just ushered somewhere and you're taking somewhere, and we do not know what happens after all of this, but we have seen it today. It's a sophisticated level of vote buying. We also saw something very interesting in Emure, where they shared alcohol as some form of voter inducement for the voters to maybe vote for a particular party. Another thing that we saw was a bit of disruption by the party agents. So in the ranking of the people who have committed election day offense, I think party agents have ranked the highest because they have disrupted process. We've seen them give people already completed ballot papers to put in the ballot boxes. We've seen them try to collect voters' card from people. So we've seen a lot of things, but as I say, they rank the highest in terms of it. And what is interesting for us is that the peace accord was signed just in the month of May by political actors, by both candidates and political leaders of different parties. And what they committed themselves was that they and their party agents will act in line with the Constitution, the Electoral Act. But then, as we've seen today, they're not the particular people contesting the elections, but their party agents today have infringed the peace accord.
Okay, let's look at the general situation of security. What is your general assessment? Then what do you really project?
Okay, so
future election.
As a corollary to what I've just said, what I want to now add is that there was adequate security deployment. So which is interesting. If there was security deployment, why then were there many cases of vote buying? And we want to now reiterate that going forward into the next election, because what is important is that Ekiti elections are the first ones conducted under the newly signed Electoral Act. And we have section 121 to about section 128 that penalizes all the electoral offenses. And 122 particularly says that anybody who is caught either vote trading, either buying or selling, has a penalty to face, usually to the tune of 10 million naira. And so we saw all these cases, but I do not think that there was any culprit. Interestingly, in Iyin, in Irekodun, Ifelodun, where some security agencies were chased out by youths when they came because there was a lot of, or rather allegedly, there was vote buying going on in those places.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Asabe Ndai of Kuka Center, for your general observation. Well, that's the situation from the INEC Coalition Center in Ado Ekiti. As the event unfolds, we'll be keeping you abreast.
Very much, Ayodeji Ogunshaki there, and thank you for engaging Asabe Ndahi there. Mr. Agiri, you followed the conversation, I'm sure, and going by what she has reeled out, from your end, you monitored from here, and you said the process was seamless. But allegations of voter intimidation, vote buying, and all of it, disrupting, or rather, which may truncate the whole process. Going by what she has just reeled out, what is your reaction?
But I don't know what people understand by when I mean that every election of this type is a misgrill of some sort. The good, the bad, the ugly. Everything. It's a human conduct. It's a human problem. And so I don't want us to overemphasize on those little things. See, look, vote buying will come to pass. It's only a matter of time. Because the electoral process, our democracy is a work in progress.
So if I come in there, when you say it will come to pass,
yes,
it's not a good situation for our electoral process. Go, yes. So how is that going to come to pass, from your word?
If all our problems during the election is centered on vote buying, and we see that as a priority, we will stop it. We will stop it. You find out for some time, I'm very silent in those areas. 4 years ago, Ekiti, there was a vote buying. In fact, 8 years ago was what we saw, what we describe as the mother of vote buying in the Ekiti state governorship election. But be that as it may, I do not think that the percentage of vote bought will give somebody victory in the elections like Ekiti. It will not give you any victory. But then, that's why the laws are there. Like she mentioned section 122 of the 2026 Electoral Act. It is time for us to begin to test the law. The security agents must try by every means to get copies and then charge them to court, convict them. In our electoral history, it's only one professor that was convicted in Akwa Ibom State. So we need more people. 4 years ago, I saw vote buying in Ekiti. I talked about it, but then it wasn't even, it's part of those things. We try to, as the economy improves, as more education. There's no voter education. There's no, civic education. There's no political education going on in Nigeria. It's just politicians doing their thing. The people themselves, from my point of view as an election observer, it's a job I give to myself. For 22 years, I've been in the field. I formed myself. What my experience, my eyewitness experience during the election, you can't say, there are things you can't talk in the open, because the average politician will go to any length humanly possible to win an election. And that is what we should discourage. Because, I mean, once you win an election, you are transformed. Everything about you is transformed. That is why, you know, the reward system where politicians is so high. But we need more voter education, more civic education, more enlightenment, more sensitization of people. I'm so happy that the discussion about elections is taking a center stage. Let me tell you, I was looking for people to deploy for this election. I reached out to some people in Ekiti. They were asking me how much will I give them for them to observe the election? Whereas the election observation is a voluntary thing. It's a job I gave to myself as a citizen, you know, to experience what happens and then be able to know exactly where we're coming from. And I've had that for about 22 years now.
So, Mr. Aguirre, if you let me come in there,
yes.
Going by what I'm gathering from you, this is already unfortunate and too late. We can't change what has played out today.
Okay, that's right.
But we can, going forward, we
Yes.
have elections coming up, we can correct the anomalies.
I agree with you.
So, you've talked about civic education, voter education and all of that. Where do that begin from? Because it's usually when elections are drawing closer, then you hear the talks.
See.
At what point should that be done?
That's how, look, in fact, voter education, democratic education, which there are programs we run in the Flower Foundation, we call patriotic education, starts from the primary secondary school. By the time young Nigerians are in SS2, SS3, things about the election, they've come to see it as it is a means towards their end. Because once you have bad leadership, your dreams are shattered. So from the school system to the religious system, to the mosque, the churches, even the shrines, the market associations, the professional bodies and institutions, and for Nigerian Bar Association is up and doing, MBA, I mean, the religious councils, every social system should be involved in voter education, educating ourselves, enlightening ourselves, understanding our role as citizens, understanding our civic duties, patriotic duties, citizenship duties, you know, freely offered to the society. Look, this is our country. People must volunteer their time, their resources, their energy, their knowledge to educate others, to ensure that the society improves. Nigerian society is not improving. Yes, politically we may be making progress, but the people are wallowing in blindness. People are in the dark. They don't understand their duties and responsibilities. And so it's easier to woo them in. What we need is more education, further education, more education, enlightenment. I had such from primary school. Maybe mine as post-Civil War, you know, were already sensitized. By the time I was in secondary school, I was you know, I would dodge out of the boarding house to go and join the campaign train of Senator Jaja Wachuku in 1978. I would sneak out from there to go and join his campaign train. So we were already sensitized, unlike what we have now. You know, the exclusion of history and proper civic education in our educational curriculum does not help matters. We need to further enlighten the people. And that is even the issue of security. Once people are sensitized and mobilized, what government is not doing right, I've been saying it for the past 3 years to this administration, engage the people, not political figureheads and others who are, I mean, it's like their site even irritates the people. Get the people involved in activities, enlighten the people, understand that you have a duty, a moral duty, a civic duty, a constitutional duty to devote your time for the good of the society in which you live. You don't wait for pay. You know, it's a whole lot of a thing. Back to the Ekiti election. I hope and pray that the election comes and go, you know, like this, so that we begin to make further. Let's not emphasize on the thing. We must acknowledge areas who are doing right, areas who are doing well,
Mr.
and so
Aguirre,
as to motivate.
There will be more time to continue this talk, of course, and the sensitization you talk about, the implication of vote buying is also one aspect that should be reeled out, especially penalties involved.
Oh, yes,
but let's
sure.
take a break. We'll be back. Thank you for staying with us. We still have Mr. Chris Aguirre, an election observer, here with us in the studio. Mr. Aguirre, you have stated your points in other aspects, but I'd like us to look at the BVAS functionality. When the CSOs, did their press briefing earlier today, there were recommendations, and we saw isolated cases of older persons who could not get captured or accredited, so to say. What will be your recommendation now to INEC? Because this is like a test for us going forward.
Yes, well, first you describe it as isolated cases. Yes. The device, I'm not defending INEC, I'm just being real, true to myself. It's an electronic device. Sometimes you make calls, it doesn't go. Sometimes you come to make some transactions, it doesn't go. Air bridges, weather, atmosphere, those things must be taken into account. We're talking about performance of BVAS. But so far, since the introduction of the BVAS machine, it has helped a lot. So we can only talk about improving and improving and improving on it. Sorry to digress a little. People talk about voter apathy. You have a large number of registered people. Some of those figures are not real. That is why INEC must do their voter, cleaning register. You see? So, and then BVAS helps. It helps a lot. So we should improve on it. That's all. Should improve on it. Get more technical staff on it. Ekiti has always had the blessing of rain falling during the election. 8 years ago it did. 4 years ago, there was heavy downpour. 4 years ago, heavy downpour, I tell you. So it's their blessing. So that weather condition is likely to affect the performance of the BVAS. Then INEC gave us assurance, of course, as always, that they have more technical staff to back up. So that shouldn't take much of our time. I think the election so far, so good. So we must improve going forward in first, the people understanding that it is their thing, it's not my thing. Then, all hands coming on deck. Political parties who are the first benefactors of this election should be able to get involved in voter education, citizenship education, constitutional education. The average 6 years American will tell you all her rights as embedded in the Constitution. And so they should understand that, look, this election we are talking about is your future. It is in your best interest that you vote during the election. Vote during the election, yes.
Mr. Aguirre, a lot played out today, and we must commend INEC for the scores they made, and of course look forward for the key players, of course, to address the challenges we're contending with that affects our electoral process going forward. I want to thank you very much for coming on Weekend File. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
All right, let's take a break. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Thank you for staying with us, and it's just the right time for us to bring you a sports update with Francisca. Francisca, what do you have for us?
Hello, Ruth. Welcome to Sports Update. Now, reactions have continued to trail the decision of the Athletics Federation of Nigeria, AFN, to postpone the commencement of the 2026 Commonwealth Games trials by 24 hours, while some stakeholders described the late adjustment as unfortunate and disruptive to preparations. Others, particularly some athletes, believe the postponement provides additional time to fine-tune their readiness for the competition. Olumide Eguntala reports that despite mixed feelings over the development, several athletes see the extra day as an opportunity rather than a setback.
Chance for everybody to come and showcase themselves, do what they can do best.
It gives us another opportunity to warm down, to do our drills, get back to runnings and all that. And
athletes, the warm-up they did yesterday was
now recognized globally for its numerous physical and mental health benefits. Yoga continues to play a vital role in promoting healthy living and reducing stress among people of all ages. It was against this backdrop that hundreds of participants gathered at the velodrome of the Moshood Abiola National Stadium, Abuja, to celebrate the 12th International Day of Yoga. Organized by the High Commission of India, this year's event was held under the theme, healthy aging, and emphasized the importance of maintaining an active and healthy lifestyle. According to the organizers, the Abuja celebration reflected this growing global acceptance, highlighting yoga's role in supporting physical fitness, mental wellness, and healthy aging.
This year is Yoga for Healthy Aging, and everyone has now realized the importance of yoga, not only for their physical well-being but also for their mental well-being.
The more we participate, the more we get we bring the interest, and part of our job as the Sport Commission is to ensure massive participation across all sports. This is basically what we are doing.
I felt very good. I practice a little bit of yoga every day as I can inculcate into.
Now let's turn our attention to football. The Netherlands moved a step closer to the knockout stage after a commanding 5-1 victory over Sweden in Group F. Cody Hakpo and Brian Brobby both scored twice as the Dutch side claimed the maximum points to strengthen their grip on the group and boost their qualification hopes. Earlier, Brazil recorded a 3-0 win over Haiti, with Manchester United forward Matheus Cunha netting a brace. Meanwhile, Turkey became the latest nation to exit the tournament after suffering a second consecutive defeat. In another match, Germany and Ivory Coast are currently battling for points as action continues at the FIFA World Cup. Well, that's your Sports 8. Back to you, Ruth.
Thank you very much, Francisca. And let's check out the weather forecast for tomorrow.
Hello there. Looking at this satellite imagery, an active storm system moved across the northwestern region late Friday night into early hours of Saturday, bringing widespread rainfall to much of the area before gradually exiting to the west. At the same time, another persistent storm lingered over parts of the southwest, bringing significant rainfall totals. Apekita recorded an impressive 111 millimeters, while the surrounding areas also experienced heavy downpour. Currently, a large and active weather system is delivering widespread rainfall across the northeast and parts of the north-central region. As we move into Sunday morning, these storms are expected to shift westwards, bringing morning rainfall to much of the northwestern region and isolated showers over the north-central region. Moderate rainfall is also expected along the coastline, the southeastern region, and parts of the southwest. By evening hours, rain chances remain high, with moderate to heavy rainfall forecast across much of the south and the extreme northern region, while isolated chances of light to moderate showers are expected to the central states. And that's your weather forecast. Join us again.
Right, there you have it, the weather forecast for tomorrow. And talking about tomorrow, the third Sunday of June is actually the International Father's Day. Now, the day offers families a chance to appreciate fathers and father figures for the love and support they provide. Fathers are often the quiet pillars of a family. Now, they may not always express their feelings with words, but their love shines through their support, guidance, and sacrifices. From teaching life's valuable lessons to standing beside their children during challenging moments, fathers play an irreplaceable role in shaping lives. So Father's Day is the perfect occasion to recognize and celebrate these contributions. Reach out to your father tomorrow. For me, aside my biological father, whom I love dearly, I have a lot of daddies, and I want to use this time to appreciate them for their support and love in my life daily. And that's Weekend File. Thank you for being part of it. Good night. I'm Ruth Aguilera.